Australian cricketer Philip Hughes remains in a critical condition after being hit in the head by a ball at the SCG yesterday. News of his well-being continues to trend in Australia and overseas. He collapsed on the field during the Sheffield Shield match between South Australia and New South Wales and was rushed to hospital. The 25-year-old batsman underwent emergency surgery last night. Australian team doctor Peter Bruckner says Hughes is receiving the best possible medical care.
Philip's condition is unchanged and he remains critical. If there are any further developments, we'll let you know immediately. Thank you.
On the ABC News 24 Facebook page, Alan writes, "My family collectively are thinking of Phil Hughes and his family, praying for a swift recovery and get well, mate." Pat simply says, "Hope Phil Hughes recovers soon." Protests have been spreading across the US after a white police officer who killed an unarmed black teenager escaped prosecution. Ferguson and Michael Brown are still trending here in Australia. In the town of Ferguson, where 18-year-old Michael Brown was shot dead in August, Missouri's governor has ordered National Guard reinforcements to quell a second night of protests. Elise Williams posted this video from Atlanta to Instagram a few hours ago. She's at City Hall there and writes, "Police had automatic rifles even though it was a peaceful protest." Elsewhere, this photo shows the size of protests in New York taken on 34th Street, while Peter tweeted this shot from Broadway, which was closed due to continuing protests. Thousands of people took to the streets in New York, Boston and Los Angeles. And from the streets of Seattle, Kashana posts, "Proud to see so many courageous young people marching in Seattle against racism," she says. The Australian music industry's Night of Nights, the ARIAs, has kicked off in Sydney. Now, the ARIA's official Twitter account has been focusing on red carpet action this afternoon as big domestic and international musicians have arrived. So far, Sia has nabbed an ARIA for Best Music Video for Chandelier and Best Pop Release. Chet Faker has picked up Best Independent Release. A little earlier, Census Australia shared this little factoid. There are 20,690 musicians, writers and performers in Australia, they say. Justice Minister Michael Keenan has announced the launch of a nationwide cybercrime reporting network. Known as ACORN, the system will allow internet users to submit a report if they suspect they might be the victims of fraud or identity theft. Authorities utilise metadata and coordinate with state governments in what the Justice Minister hopes will be a central part of lessening cybercrime, which costs Australians up to $2 billion annually.
Australia is an attractive target for cyber criminals because we're a very wealthy country. We're also a highly interconnected country. That's why we remain an attractive target for cyber criminals, and that's why we're launching services such as the ACORN today to make sure that we are doing everything we can to tackle online crime.
Meanwhile, the corporate regulator ASIC has confirmed it has concerns about being excluded from the federal government's proposed data retention scheme. The legislation requiring phone and internet companies to store basic information about their customers' activities for at least 2 years is currently before Parliament. Police and other agencies, including Customs, would have access to the data, but not ASIC or the Tax Office. ASIC has written to senior members of the Abbott government urging a rethink. Changing gears now, and what would you get if you gave Australian politics the Monty Python treatment? Wonder no longer thanks to YouTuber Hugh Atkin, who puts the Prime Minister into battle in the 1975 classic Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Now stand aside, worthy adversary.
Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it's not.
Well, what's that then?
It's an efficiency dividend.
I seek the
Regular NX viewers would remember Atkin's previous political mashups, including a Joe Hockey take on a Daft Punk hit, and would the real Mitt Romney please stand up? From music to film, and for Jurassic Park fans, the day has finally arrived. After 20-second teasers, Universal has released the full trailer 2 days early for the long-awaited Jurassic World. Steven Spielberg returns as executive producer, and Chris Pratt takes the lead in the film, set 22 years into the future, where dinosaurs are the attraction in an island theme park.
We have our first genetically modified hybrid.
Nothing could go wrong there, right? The trailer has received over 2.5 million views in less than 24 hours. The film itself is due out in June next year. You can see here to the right of this graph how Twitter responded to the release of that trailer, and that previous peak a little over was when the latest 20-second teaser was released earlier in the week. Jurassic World is also trending on Facebook. The tweet that broke the news from the Jurassic Park account has been retweeted over 23,000 times. And social reaction has been overwhelmingly positive. Chris Pratt rides a motorcycle flanked by his pet raptors. That is literally all you need to know about Jurassic World. And this one, if you're not excited about Jurassic World, well, I'm not sure we can keep being friends. Well, it's still 28 sleeps away from Christmas, but it's already trending online, for those who weren't counting, with some help from Santa's little helpers. More than 1,700 people dressed in elf costumes gathered in Bangkok and managed to break the world record for the largest gathering of Santa's elves. The official tally came in at 1,762, beating the previous record by more than 600 people. Participants had to wear red and green coloured clothing and a pointed hat in order to join the challenge. Here's what people are searching for on Google today. Medibank's share offer and White Ribbon Day are up there. Let's now have a look at some of the other stories that have been popping up online. And finally, who doesn't love a good stunt at a decent height? But how do you think you would fare doing a handstand 25 metres above in the air? Spain's Carlos Jimeno thought he'd give it a go, balancing on a narrow edge high in the air above water as a crowd holds their breath below. He nails the first part of the act, and then comes the fun bit. Feat that definitely deserves a disclaimer. Don't try that one at home.